Welcome to the Bad Girls on Business, the podcast that makes business more fun so you want to do more of it. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, Jennie Bellinger, Virginia Mooskies, and Michelle Nedelec.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We are on episode 1 of the Bad Girls on Business, and we are super excited because today we are having, I don't know, when we talk, we're talking about a menage a trois. So what is it? Like we're having
menage a cinq.
A menage a cinq. I don't know. We're having a
Suck and sank.
But we are here. We are here tonight. We are here with the nice guys on business. So today's episode is the Bad Girls meet the nice guys. And we are so excited to have you here, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonham. And I'm just going to start this off by saying that this is all your fault. It's all you're doing. Okay. You are responsible because you guys like worked your magic, cast your spell, and created a bunch of podcast girls.
Damn, how many podcasts do we have represented here? Virginia, this is at least your second or third. Okay.
This is my third.
Jennie Bellinger, you have one. Michelle Nedelec, you have 3. Strickland, you have 1, and I think I have 7. So between the
I
five
feel
of
a
us,
little inadequate here, being the only one that has 1 damn.
We are multi-podgasmic.
Strickland, you're the only one that's not depending on this for income, though. Strickland, that's why you're
Good point.
True that. And keep in mind, while I only have 1 podcast, I have helped launched. Oh my gosh, I think I'm in the double digits now or something like that. Like, and by double digits, I mean I've helped launch more than 20.
That's good. So the way that I look at it, for every penis inch length, you need to have 1 podcast.
I'm gonna say I was definitely going for the multi-podgasmic thing, man. You know, because like that's.
And here I thought we were gonna corrupt you.
Oh hell no! Hell no!
So for those of you who are not watching on Facebook right now and just listening, I want to clarify that we have with us Virginia, the referral diva, Jennie, the direct sales dom, and Michelle, your mistress in business. That's what I'm talking about.
And together we are, ladies. 1, 2, 3. The Bad Girls on business. Yeah, that's us. We got to
practice.
We got to go like this.
In editing. You just fix it in editing. It's all
fix it in editing.
You're so funny.
2, 3. The
Bad Girls on business.
Evil brain.
It's
How
not
slow
work.
can
There's
you go,
delay.
Virginia? Who's
like,
looking
remember
at?
when
I
we
know,
tell everybody,
exactly. We're on
don't
delay.
listen to our first episode because it's all right, girls. It'll get better. It's all good. It's all good.
Stop it.
It's all good.
And especially since I subscribe to the Strickland Bonner mode of editing, I'm gonna put an intro and outro and slap this bitch on the simple cast.
So let's just be really clear. You all have the power of the 2x and the 10 seconds ahead key. Yep. So use liberally. That's all I'm gonna say.
We'll be drinking. You can fast forward.
There you go.
It's all good.
So listen, you guys. Doug.
Virginia.
Doug.
This is all my fault, I guess, then.
It's all your fault. No, you're all nice to me and everything. Like people don't usually do that, and so now you're stuck with me. And you know, maybe you've reconsidered.
No
your
way,
ways.
Virginia. I would never consider myself stuck with you. I love you. I think that you are amazing. You're a great business person. All the things that you stand for, I love. You're bold. You're brazen, and you're not a bully. You're just an amazing person. So I'm
not a bully. That's the greatest definition of you
not
ever.
A bully.
Not a bully.
Yeah, like Strick's not an asshole.
I just said beautiful.
Thanks, Doug. That's ringing important. I appreciate that.
Sure. Happy to be.
Oh my God. All right, guys. So listen, first of all, you are really seriously on the episode because if it weren't for the two of you, the Bad Girls on Business wouldn't exist. And Jennie and I actually dreamt this up on the plane home from the first New Media Summit right after we figured out badass direct sales marketing. And we're like, yeah, we should be the Bad Girls on Business and give Doug and Strick a run for their money, which we never could because you guys are amazing. But it really is thanks to you. And so that's why we wanted to invite you here on episode 1. I don't know. I think we should talk podcasting, right? Like all things podcasting, because we're really targeting the 6-figure entrepreneur who wants to get their word out there and get out there and be seen and be heard and get their message out to a larger world. And that's what you guys are all about. So do you guys want to maybe share like the origin story of Nice Guys on Business?
Oh, but wait, can I endorse them first? Because I
Yes.
just want to say that they were phenomenal.
Michelle.
Best I've ever had.
Me
Don't
too.
Brad.
Pores.
Right?
Podcast.
I waited
whores.
3 years to get my podcast from conception to done. And these guys helped
And
me do
then
it.
and then it took you all of about another 2 weeks to launch your second one after that one, and then about an.
Well, yeah, now that I know
right?
how,
It's like
this is
potato chips. You
awesome.
can't just have one. I feel that way too.
But you know what, Doug?
I thought it was like losing my virginity once I
Hell
figured it out. I was
yeah.
like, hell yeah. We want more.
Spread these legs wide.
You know, to your credit, Doug, I'm not really sure in the lineup where I would think I was at one of the your very early clients for Turnkey.
She your first?
Right?
You were.
don't
I think you
was,
were.
like-
I'm pretty sure you. I mean, how long have you had your show?
Well, I started with you in we started talking in December of 2017, and then I launched in January of 18.
Yeah, I would have to say
With
you,
passion and
you were
purpose
you were
impact.
absolutely before our ultimate podcast launch formula was started.
Mhm.
That's when we got the majority of the volume in our group. So you were probably in the top in the first 50 of the shows that we launched, and we made a lot of mistakes before you, and we've made a lot of mistakes since you. So
Well, I remember talking to you and saying, like, because
Your way of making her feel good.
I remember, no, I seriously, guru shall remain nameless, right? But I was like, dude, you guys are so much better at this, like launch a podcast process, that you need to put a process in place. You need to document your shit, and you need to teach it in groups.
Remember
And
that.
you need to scale this thing
that.
because you're the best in the biz, right? Like you're the best I ever had.
I remember
mean,
that conversation with you, Virginia, and it came at the tail end of a number of conversations that we had with other people. I don't think I had any after you that were as compelling. I mean, you were pretty straightforward. You're like, dude, you gotta document, you've got to multiply, and you've got to completely duplicate what you are doing, and you will make this will be a big business. And while it's not exactly where Strick and I want it to be, because we know we have a 7-figure
Yet.
business on our hands,
Yet.
and I agree, yet
Yet.
we know that a lot of it started with our early on clients like you, because you gave us the confidence to say, shit, we really do know what we're doing. And although we've learned a lot since launching your show and others since, it's been a great experience, and we are really enjoying this entire process. Jennie came on board with us and started doing some training for us, taught us a lot about the training side of things and service. You know, Michelle, you were one of the early on clients with JVology and Jay's group in helping us put our ultimate podcast launch formula. You each have a role that I don't think that we would be where we are had it not been for each of the roles that you guys represent in what our business has been able to do over the years. And Strickland, without Strickland, I would never be able to. Strickland is the riverbanks, and I am the river that flows. Oh, we talk about that all the time. It's like I am so unstructured, and Strickland keeps me down the straight and narrow, and it's great. It really is a fun experience, this whole podcast thing.
Doug, you're really skipping past the most important thing that has been said already here. Two of
Right.
these three women have already said that we were the best they've
Best
ever had.
they've ever
Come on, how do you let
had.
that slide by?
Sorry.
Haven't-
I feel like
Come on, Jenny,
I was
say
gonna
it.
say I
Say
feel
it,
like I
Jenny.
now need to also say you guys are the best I've ever had. I mean,
It's-
seriously, I remember the first time I met both of you on separate occasions, because I met you guys
Mhm.
separately from each
Well,
other,
Strick, when
which is
Strick,
weird.
when I keep hearing that from every woman that has come into my life, and I'm not 100% sure because I have many ex-wives, so I'm thinking there's a disconnect here between what I'm defining as the best person I've ever had and really what the best person is. Somebody's either lying to me or I am delusional. I have no idea. I don't care though.
or
Or
both.
Or both, could be both.
No.
There,
it's
that's
the
very
problem.
true.
Doug,
That's the
sounds like-
problem,
The
right? You got-
microphone is truth
I know,
zero.
I said that.
Oh,
Is your kinda girl.
man. So true. Doug, and I
Very
think you're
true.
breaking up a little bit, so your gain's a little hot.
Well,
may
you
wanna
guys
pull
know
it.
what I prefer. Just
The
saying.
ball. Oh, Virginia likes the big
Oh.
black ball. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, got it.
I got it.
You already knew that. Strick.
Jenny likes the really thick.
I've got a long skin. No,
round-
mine's long and skinny.
Mm,
Mine's long and skinny.
long and
See, look
skinny.
at that with a big head.
Mike's come
Big
in
head.
all shapes and sizes. Who knew?
God, you guys, this is the
I hope,
best show ever.
Jenny, I sincerely beg you not to promote this to any BNI members.
I won't promote it to BNI members, but this
But-
show has to get shared and promoted
It will.
somewhere.
It
So
will.
it's,
Somebody's got to
it's
download
going to
it.
get end up on my page. And if BNI members happen to hear it, well, they're
So-
going to know I'm the bad influence. Because hello, I've had the bad podcast
Mhm.
for 18 months.
The
Oh my
bad
God.
one. I know, really. The rest of and then came Michelle. I'm telling you, it's just ironic that mine is sort of the most clean shaven among all of them. Just saying, like, what up with that? It's
I love
just
how
it's
she just
insane.
slips that right in
Mhm.
there.
It's like insane. I'm anyway.
I love that we've
So-
got the blonde, the redhead, and the brunette too. We're
Right?
just-
Isn't that hot too? Like it was
Mm.
it was so perfect when we got on the Six Figure Success Summit and decided, okay, this thing really has to be a reality. And that was what we were like.
Any
oh
of
my
your
gosh,
ex-wives
we're a blonde,
podcasters?
brunette, and
That
a
might have
redhead.
been where you
All
went
Now
wrong,
we need
just
to get
saying.
somebody who has kind
Yeah.
of like raven black hair and blue eye. Moira, we got to get somebody like
Damn.
Any
Yeah.
woman
Oh,
that
that
sticks this in her
accent.
face all day long.
right, Moira
Something going on
Nagalaker
there.
from Donegal, Ireland. From Donegal, Ireland.
Oh, she's Irish.
Oh,
So
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
She's Irish.
the best. So
she's
sexy.
Irish.
God. Does she have a
oh,
podcast? I just want to hear her
She's
talk.
Strickland. No,
Not
not yet. But we'll,
I'm
we can
working on her.
corrupt
Don't worry.
I
I'm
bet
working
you
on
are,
her.
Jenny. I bet you are. Let me help with
Yeah.
that, please.
So, all right. So, Doug and Strick, really quick question. When you,
But she
when
was
you
envious of your
when
blue
we
one.
met, cool thing that you guys did.
And
Which
maybe
I
you
thought
need
was
to
really
get a little
great,
more
and
there,
was
Strick,
this,
if it's turning
I'll
blue.
go first
It's
thing,
not a
this
good sign.
givers thing, which is why I adore you and love having you in the community. Because really, bad girls are givers first. Like we go first. We want to give. We want to really make a difference. And you created that BizWiz podcast for anybody that would like. The requirements were so ridiculous. It was like subscribe, rate, review, and then click on this link and schedule the time.
Well, wait,
Like,
it wasn't quite that simple. It was subscribe, rate, review, share, have a microphone, which was important too.
oh yeah, get a mic.
Share with me what your plans are to share this with your community on social media. Those were like the 4 rules. And I'll tell you something, of the 118 people that I asked to do that, only 40 of them actually did those rules. And you and Jenny were 2 of them.
So let's talk about that really quick because I didn't think that was real. Here's the only reason it was a hard ask for me was because I didn't know how to get a podcast on my phone when I was at the New Media Summit. So I'm like sitting there with my phone. I'm like, Jenny, I gotta subscribe and I gotta do the thing. I gotta do that thing that Doug said. I don't know how. And she's like, and Jenny goes, I'm no use. I'm an Android girl. I'm like,
But somehow
I think-
Jenny managed to
Yeah.
do it though. I don't know.
Moira makes me
no,
hot.
I
I think I'd
literally
be okay
came
with
to you
that.
and I was like, Doug, I totally want to do that thing you asked me to do, and I have no
She's got
clue
the
how to do it. Like,
best
what's a
Irish
podcast and how do
accent.
I get one
Oh.
on my phone?
Well, that's cool because that's exactly
And you
that was
were like,
exactly what
oh dear
that's
God.
exactly what Strickland said when I said, "Hey, I want to launch a podcast. Do you want to do it with me?" He said, "Sure, I'd love to do that." Well, what's a podcast? So it's like, and that was 1,100 and I don't know, almost 1,100 episodes.
50 or so episodes.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
Holy crap!
I know.
You guys have been doing this.
They've
for a
cranked
long
out
time.
a lot of content.
A lot of
Strick,
crap, yeah.
Where is it though? Where do we keep it? Do we keep it anywhere? I have some in
I
my
know.
closet. My closet is like filled up. I have to go through and do some spring cleaning of all these extra episodes we have.
We put out.
Oh my God. I have to say, I've been listening since September of 2017 when we met you guys. Now, I don't listen to every
neither.
episode. My favorites are the
Yeah.
fuckery ones, absolutely, because I know you
Yeah.
guys. So I've got a connection there. But I do have to say, one of the things I haven't been able to find is anything from your first season. I have wanted to go back and listen just to be able to say, ooh, yeah, okay, it makes me feel better about
my
my
God.
first
I think
season
you can-
because I
If
suck
you got a
at it,
lip
know?
sync, I think you could get them all right. Because Apple only gives you most
Maybe.
podcast providers are only going to give you the last 100, 200, 300 episodes, maybe. But I bet Libsyn you could get them all. I would. I'll
Yeah,
send you directly.
I'm going in right now. I'm going to send you the link to episode number 1.
Nice.
Going in, Jenny.
I
Just going
am
in.
going to send you Oh my God, it's so bad.
Yes.
So bad.
I know. It feels like a first edition, kind of like, oh, I like that.
We have
I like being
it's,
special.
it's so freaking nuts. We have so many episodes that are out. I don't even know how we have all. Yeah, The Nice Guys on Business premiere episode, February 8th, 2015.
Wow.
Wow.
February 8th. I got to put that on the calendar now. That's our birthday, our anniversary.
Yeah, I'm gonna give.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing because so many people hit pod fade, and it's really I hit like this moment when I just couldn't anymore, and I actually just took a really brief season 2 hiatus to get my head clear, and we'll come back in January and do season 3. And one of the things, let's talk consistency, because if you're listening to this and you're a 6-figure entrepreneur and you want to grow your business, what I think one of the biggest mistakes is that people have shiny object syndrome. And, they're like, try this, try that, try this, try that, instead of really getting good at something and then figuring out how to monetize that thing. So can you guys talk, why did you start a podcast? Oh, you want to do a podcast, Strick? Yeah, let's do a podcast, Doug. And then you're doing a podcast, and then you figured out how to monetize it, right? Because you didn't have the strategy when you started.
No, it didn't take us long at all to monetize. 18 months, I think, no big deal. A year and a half, 2 years, no big deal. Yeah.
Virginia's like, hey, that's actually kind of fast. It's thinking that's not too bad.
Faster than I've done it.
So I, for some reason, right around year, I don't know, 25 or so in the DJ business, because I come from the DJ background, entertaining in the high end social scene in the Washington, D.C. marketplace. And I was getting a little tired of it, and I could sense that I was getting tired of it. So I really wanted to slowly, painstakingly make a transition from my DJ career to a professional speaking business, or at least training the skill set that I had. And that was in customer service, and Strickland can attest to this. I mean, that was my jam. It was not necessarily being the best DJ that was out there. It was being the best at delivering customer service and having a client know that when they hired me, they got the best in the world of customer service. Not necessarily the best in the world of DJing, but when you have 2 years to plan an event, you need better customer service than you do better DJ. So I wanted to make the transition out. I wrote a book called Nice Guys Finish First. I wanted a way to promote it. I was pricing out PR companies, and it was $3,500 a month for the least expensive PR agency to help promote my book. And I'm like, geez, after 3 months, I would be broke. 10 grand in the bank at that point in savings. And I'm like, no, I got to figure out something better than that. So I said to Strickland, and he was a good buddy of mine. He ran a band at Washington Talent, the same agency that represented me, my DJ business. And I said, let's try this podcasting thing. And he was all about it. I mean, because he's really humble. I mean, he won't tell you that. I mean, maybe he will, but not like my ego. He was the president of Washington Talent. And if there was somebody that I thought knew as much about business and growing an agency to, I don't know, what was the agency doing? $10 million a year or something like that by the time $10 million a year. I was doing, a fraction of that. And I thought, what a great partner to have. And we always got along really well. And he was so structured with his practices as president of the agency. And I was just a customer service and sales guy. So I'm like, I need somebody that has a little bit more of a well-rounded knowledge of business. So that guy wasn't available, but Strickland was. And I'm like, let's try this. And I don't know, Strick, why did you even say yes? I don't think we've ever had this conversation. Why'd you say yes?
Yeah, I was bored. I had nothing better to do. Look what I've gotten myself into now. I mean, what a mistake that was, right?
Oh my gosh.
I thought it would be interesting and fun. I thought podcasting was pretty cool. I thought it would be interesting and fun. And really, just like so many of the great collaborations, Hewlett and Packard, it's like, what are you going to build? We don't know, but we just know we want to work together. And that was how I felt about Doug. I'm like, Doug's a really good guy, and I like what he's talking about. I like the idea of over-the-top customer service. I really do feel very strongly that that's the best way to grow your business. And hey, let's talk about it. This would be great. So that's how it started.
Nice.
And then still to this,
Jennie, you don't have another thing?
well, still to this day, what Doug says about, the balance of, that Doug likes the way that I structured things and he's not a structured guy. We got a rule still right now where Doug is the sales guy and, I do the back end and I make sure that the structure is right. And the big joke is Doug sells something and then he tells me what it is he sold and I figure out how to deliver it. Because there's no such thing as a package with us, right? It's like, oh yeah, I sold him package number 1. No, there's no package 1. Everything is custom. And that's okay. As long as Doug conveys to me what it is he sold and we make it happen. And you got to play to your strengths. That's really what it's all about.
Sometimes I come back to Strickland with like a little bit of like, I'm a little bit like embarrassed or I'm a little bit ashamed of what I just sold. And he's always like, okay, we got it. As long as you tell me what you promised them, we'll make it happen. And that to me is the greatest. Now we do have certain packages with our do-it-yourself or our group coaching program, but everybody is treated differently because while the package, the online course is very structured, all of the stuff, the bells and whistles and the music and the coaching calls and all the stuff that we do as a part of the support. I mean, none of that is stock. All of that is off the shelf and custom made 100%. And I think that's the key to business is just being flexible enough to understand your customer's story and understand where they're coming from and helping them arrive there. It's not like it doesn't serve us as a business very well if we're like, no, sorry, we don't do that. We can't. I mean, if somebody said, hey, do you make corned beef sandwiches? I might say, well, you might want to go to the deli for that. But anything close, why not? Why not give it a try? And I think that's been the key to a certain level of success that we've had because we are always looking for opportunity. We look for joint venture and affiliate opportunities, and we look for opportunities with PR companies and agencies and coming on shows like this and doing amazing stuff. And it's like every time we do something like this, opportunity finds us. And I just think that's just the nature of being an online business and the nature of being an entrepreneur is always looking. I mean, ladies, you're 3 shining examples of this. You have shows that go in a vast bunch of different directions. And the reason you have them is because you're constantly looking for opportunity. And I know that about all 3 of you.
And Doug, I remember having this conversation with you. It was hilarious. So it was early on. I was maybe, 4 to 6 months into production with you guys. And I started asking you like for all this dumb shit. And you kept saying yes. And I was like, I'd ask you for something else. And you'd be like, yeah, sure, no problem. And sure, why not? Sure. And then one day, do you remember this conversation? I was like, Doug, you got to stop saying yes. Like, you got to oh my God. And he's like, but I like you, Virginia. And I really want you to have what you want. And I was like, okay, say yes to me, but promise me you will never say yes to anybody else. Like, oh my God.
I lied. I think I said I won't say yes to anybody else, but I think I lied. I think from that day on, I continued to say yes an extra amount of times.
An extra, just like, and every time he said yes, there's a picture of me and he'd go like, nah, boo boo and stick his tongue out, right? Like, but no, one of the things I do appreciate that about you guys. And then I also caution the growing entrepreneur who doesn't have a partner like Strick who can make things happen. Like, you got to be careful, right? Like, you got to be careful to set your boundaries. And I do think this, Doug, you say yes a lot, but I think there are boundaries there. Like there comes a moment when you say, I'm really sorry, I'm not the guy that's going to do that. Go call Michael Neal. Well, go call Jennie Bellinger.
You got to know your limits. And what's so funny about it is, and we had this experience just maybe 2 weeks ago, Strick, and you probably remember this experience pretty well, is we had the opportunity to fire a client. It was the best thing ever. Yeah. It was like, there was a guy and he just kept asking us to do stuff and asking us. And it wasn't like he was asking it from an entitled perspective rather than from a perspective of, can you help support me in this? And will this cost me more? Or I'm happy to pay more for this. It was like, I bought your service and this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And I'm like, I was pretty clear when you purchased this, that I said yes to these things, but not these other things. I can deliver these if you really want me to. And he kept coming back. And I just said, I think my last text message to Strick about it is, I said, can you just fire him? Yeah. And we fired a client, and it was a really, I don't know how you felt about it, Strick, but it was a really like empowering feeling.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in that, the 80-20 rule, that, 20% of your clients cause 80% of your problems. And this was definitely one of those 20%. And we realized it relatively early on. We worked with him for about a month, and it's like, we gave a little and gave a little and gave a little bit more. And I'm like, I'll try this. And then at one point it was like, nope, you just just went over the tipping point. It's not worth it. It is not worth the money. You're throwing wrenches into our entire system. And so you're going to be affecting my whole team. You're going to be affecting other customers with what you're asking us to do. And it's just not worth it for the money that you're paying us. So sorry, we have to let you go.
On the other side, we've had a client. We've had him for a couple of years now. You probably know who. He's the one that sent us all the merch in the mail, Strick, and you probably know who that is. Who he's not a challenging client, but he does ask us to kind of step outside the box with several things that we do for him, and we gladly do it because the first question that he asks after he asks, "Can we do it?" He's like, "I want to pay for it. How much will you charge me for it?"
Bam.
And as soon as he says that, he respects what we do, and it's like, I'm more than happy to. It's almost like I would say to him, "Don't worry about it," because he's a giver. And I love that. I love people that understand that, hey, I know that this isn't what you normally do, but if you did it, would it cost me more? And if so, how much? And I'm happy to pay it. Those are the people that we love working with, not the ones that come to us with like their hand out and say, you owe me this. I'm entitled to this service because I decided I was going to gracious your client, like, and hire you. I'm like, fuck that. Well, we have enough clients. And even if we didn't, I still wouldn't want to do business with you.
So, six-figure success tip in that whole learning right there, right, is know what you deliver, know what you're willing to do, and really know how to say, I would love to help you with that. And it will be $1,100.
Yep.
Right. Because you're going to have really the rare time. And this is the other side of it is if you want to actually attract clients like that, you have to be a client like that. So
don't piss off your support team.
At one point I looked at, well, at one point it was really funny. So I canceled a service. Like Brad was like, you don't need that service. So I canceled the service and I said, okay, well, just charge me more. And he was like, why would I charge you more? And I said, because you're working way more than what I think. I'm like, I don't even know the scope of work because they were just like, we'll help you. And me. And so I was like, I think you're working more. So just charge me more. And, then there was a referral and I was like, keep the commission. And like, because I'm trying to at least be the kind of client that acknowledges that, like, I don't even know if I'm keeping up with the work, but at least I acknowledge that, if I cancel a service and I can say to them, do I owe you more? And they go, well, yeah, kind of. I'm like, great, go ahead and charge me more because I've got more money or I've got whatever. Those kind of clients are people that you can work with because they're at least acknowledging that down the pike, this is going to be something that needs to be acknowledged. And the whole notion of I paid you $100, so I should be able to ask you for anything that I want is a little ridiculous. But there are solopreneurs who will let those people suck the friggin' life out of them, and that's a real block to getting to your first six figures and getting to your next six figures. Is not knowing when to say no and let that go because it's going to be an energy.
So let me add this to what you're saying as well, because you said the $100,000 secret or whatever it was, the practice that you have, and knowing who is in your market is one thing. Also knowing what's in your zone of genius is absolutely another. And I come back to this over and over again as I'm having conversations with my coaching clients as well. And Strick and I made a decision in January 2019, that we're only going to do things within our zone of genius. That means that I'm going to stay out of spreadsheets, unless they're color coded in blue, of course, stay out of spreadsheets and stay out of accounting and staying out of all of the stuff, the systems and the building of all that stuff, because that's the stuff that gave me high anxiety and stress and tension and had me working many more hours and not enjoying putting my feet in the morning, on the ground in the morning, and staying in the stuff, the relationship building and the sales and the product creation that I really love to do. And I don't think, and I even just recently hired a VA, because even the stuff that I thought I was enjoying doing, they were time sucks for me. Stuff like email. I don't go into my email 50 times a day like I did anymore, because I have a VA. And once you start to understand that your time is more valuable than the busyness that is being created by being in something that you don't like doing, you'll be much more productive in much less time if you just get that stuff off your plate. And if there's any piece of advice I could give anybody in your community that's growing, it's that do that earlier rather than later, and save yourself a lot of the grief and worry. And we've really had a real good run since we have been doing only those things in our zone of genius.
Yeah, I think the two key words that came out of that last bit there, Doug, is the difference between busyness and productivity. Because a lot of people associate busyness with being productive. And it's like, no, if it ain't making you money, if it ain't getting you more clients, if it's not, moving your business really and truly forward, just because it needs to be done doesn't mean you have to do
Absolutely.
it. And that's the
Yes.
key is outsource as much as you possibly can. And I have learned that lesson very well in the last year.
I think it's also about what feeds you versus what sucks your time and energy away. We had a client about a year and a half ago, another person who has been mentioned before and shall continue to remain nameless, who was a client of ours, and he was providing for us about $100,000 in revenue, 40% of our revenue at the time. But it was sort of a white label situation where we were providing our services for his clients, but the way he wanted us to deliver the services, it was kind of different from what we would give to our own clients. And we realized after about a year, it's like, it just didn't feel right. It didn't work right. And although, yes, we were providing podcast services, it was in such a way that it was sucking a lot of our energy out because it just didn't represent us well. And we made the decision that even though this is a big chunk of our income, we're going to move in a different direction. And we did, and we have made up that income. But man, that was a hard decision to say, look, we're going to split with somebody who's right now providing 40% of our revenue.
Hey, think about it, Strick. At the time, it was a really hard decision. But how do you look at it now? I mean, we're less than a year later, right?
Total no-brainer. We've more than made up the revenue, and we're doing what we do best. We are focusing on really what we do best and working our strengths.
I do love a little bit of scope creep every once in a while when they're your favorite clients and you're going, okay, this customer service is above and beyond, but damn, you're fun to work with. Not to be confused with, oh, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. Please don't leave me, which is not a good place to be in. But absolutely, we have, in figuring out who your ideal client is, I think is the fun part. And we figured out really quickly that as soon as somebody became demanding, that it was like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't do that. We do. You're not in the right
So
place.
We can't help
Here's
you
your money
anymore.
back and bye-bye. Because it's just not worth it. I'm like, what did you do to piss off my tech department? And they're like, what? What did I do? What did I do? I'm like, yeah, what did you do? Because this conversation's not going so hot either. It's not looking good for you, buddy. He's like,
Strick had.
That's when I shut up and send booze.
Strick has a great expression that he said a few times over the last year or so. We've had some pretty heavy hitting clients, and they pay us a lot of money to do what we do because they have a lot of our services. He says, hey, some, what is it? All clients
are important, but some clients are more important than others.
All clients are created equal or something like that.
Right. All clients are created equal, but some are more equal than others.
Yeah, that's it. Some clients are more equal than others.
We have one client who he's a regular weekly, like every week he puts an episode out. And, we've got rules where it's like, hey, you've got to get us your audio a week ahead of time. So we'll have time to properly edit and write show notes and everything. This particular client has been with us probably 3 years now. And he often gets his audio late, but here's the difference. He never gives us any hassle. He pays regularly every month. And even though he's a weekly client, sometimes he'll go 2 or 3 or 4 weeks without sending us any audio. So on average, instead of us producing 4 to 5 episodes a month, we're probably averaging 2, maybe 3 episodes a month. So in that particular case, even though he is not premium client paying us big bucks, like, look, if we're only going to have to do half of the work, I am totally fine jumping through hoops occasionally, knowing that he's going to get us an audio 3 or 4 days ahead of time instead of a week ahead of time. But if this is a client that does that every single week and I'm chasing them down for money, no, I'm not going to give on those things.
And to be fair, there are a couple of other considerations there too. So if it's an older client, because I remember I'd be like, here's my episode. You're like, Virginia, it's Sunday night at 7:00.
We can't have this ready Monday morning. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen.
And I'd be like, yeah, okay, I don't care. Just put it out whenever, do whatever. So I wasn't like, what? You can't do this in 7 hours? What the hell is wrong with you? So I didn't care. I'm like, well, my bad. Whatever. This is when I could get it done. Do it whenever you can get it done. I'm not a professional podcaster. I don't have 100,000 people listening. It's like the 2 people who downloaded my fucking podcast don't care if it comes out on Monday or Thursday. So there was that. But when you start out your business, you make those concessions, and maybe you learn later that like those are concessions that you can't keep making, but you kind of have trained people how to behave. You've allowed them to, and that's what I was talking about with Doug. I was like, you guys got to stop telling me yes, like when I behave against your rules, you got to be like, yeah, you're gonna then.
So what we need is a little bottle
so that's
counter
one.
that just pops up every time Virginia starts talking. Oh, that's another bottle. That'll be another bottle.
Another bottle.
It's another bottle. Yeah,
We'll own a
seriously,
winery
you
in no
just
time.
ask, I'll just send it.
No worries.
I've already told you guys, as soon as we can travel, I'm all y'all, we're going to Napa. Like I'm just saying. So, but I think there's that. And then, the other part of like hiring things out is a lot of people would say, hey, I don't have the money to do that. So I'm curious, from the bad girls and the nice guys, like, how do you guys handle that tension between, I need more time, this isn't my zone of genius, but I don't feel like I have the money to pay for it? Like, how do you reconcile that? And how can a listener say like, okay, I can bite this bullet, or I can find an alternative?
Well, let me just add this. I mean, since we have done this, 2 years ago, since January of 2019, every night, I've been able to sleep like a baby. Yeah. I wake up every 2 hours crying. It's like, so for me,
we won't ask about what happened.
I was worried. I'm a worrier. I'm raised from, a single Jewish mom in Pikesville, Maryland, which is a small suburb of Baltimore. And we were taught early on to worry, and there's a lot of guilt in life. So for me, I woke up every hour just thinking, holy shit, or whatever. I didn't sleep well. I was under so much stress because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm spending all this money, until I realized that by spending the money, I was actually putting better qualified people in the position to do the job over me. And it was relatively quickly that we not only made up the difference between what we were spending, or, hey, look, there's got to be some value to your free time also. There's got to be some value to you having a little bit of peace in your life, and sitting at your computer for 12, 13, 14 hours a day and cranking out social media. That probably is not best suited for you if you're not a social media guy. And really, when I was able to free myself from, let's say, social media, because we had somebody do it, Christopher, and I started freeing myself from the VA stuff, like the emails and all the back end stuff, and I started freeing myself from spreadsheets, I was able to actually focus on more things like joint venture partnerships, affiliate relationships, direct sales. That's when we developed our do-it-yourself program. I couldn't have done the do-it-yourself program and all the videos that we did for that, certainly without Strick's help, but I couldn't have done all of that had I not freed myself from the busy work of social media promotion and all of the other crap that I was doing that I wasn't even good at it. I was doing it, but I wasn't even good at it. So yeah, it was a challenge to get my brain in a different perspective. I would tell somebody, swallow hard. Don't look at it as a permanent, a permanent change to your business. Just say, hey, I'm going to try this for 60 or 90 days. And if a VA costs you $1,000 or $1,500 a month on the high end side, so if you can't afford $3,000 to $5,000 to hire a VA, then you need to make a change in your business. You have to do it.
For those of you who are not watching on Facebook, I want to clarify that when Doug said swallow hard, all three of the women were grinning knowingly. I'm not going to say anything else.
I didn't say swallow deep. I said swallow hard.
Exactly.
Well, and much better than spitting, from what I hear.
I'm a lady.
I
don't
So Doug,
So Strick, you do the spreadsheets, you do the money, you do all that kind of stuff. What's your take on this whole hire out your zone of genius?
Well, the first thing about what you just mentioned, Doug and I look at each other as kind of like Walt and Roy Disney. Doug is Walt, he's out front and he's the face, and I'm the guy back in the back end, which is fine. And I'm a huge believer in that, in stay in your zone of genius. And the way I interpret that is, if there's anything that you're doing in your business that just drains you, I know that the old thinking was, hey, if you're not good at something, you just got to work at it and get better at it. And I'm a huge believer in exactly the opposite. If there's something that you're not good at, that you just don't like, it will suck all the energy out of you. Pay somebody else to do that so you can focus on what you are really good at. I'm just such a huge believer in that, because as Doug said, as soon as we got the spreadsheets and the payments, and Doug could say to somebody, here's what I sold, make it happen. And he passes it on to me and I pass it on to my team. I mean, he got so much better at selling and marketing and networking and bringing more money in the door because he wasn't worried about, oh my God, is the client going to be happy? Because he was confident in the systems that we had set up and the team that we had, that all of that was going to happen. And so he had more confidence to sell the product, which is what he does really, really well. So whatever you hate doing, find somebody else to do it somehow. You know what? If it's something that's too expensive for somebody else to do, well, maybe it's something you shouldn't be doing. I mean, obviously, if it's marketing, yeah, you're stuck. You got to do marketing, right? But if there are things like, I hate the spreadsheets, I hate the accounting, I hate that stuff, you know what? You pay somebody else to do them, or figure out if it's something that, does my business really have to do this? And it's not always a yes. So.
I would definitely argue the marketing thing, because I can't tell you how many hours people spend, seriously intelligent people, staring at a blank page going, I don't know what to write about myself. Hire somebody who knows how to write, because they can write in an hour or what will take you 3 hours to ruminate over, or a week to procrastinate on, or whatever the case is. I'm a huge advocate of, well, obviously I run a done for you company, but I'm a huge advocate of delegating, but not abdicating. So making sure that you at least know whether or not somebody's on top of the things that you're doing, because that can be disastrous as well.
I can remember when we just did, this is less than a year ago, because we just started doing JVs and joint ventures in March. And I remember Virginia, probably 3 or 4 years ago, whenever it was that we first connected, you said JV, and I'm like, I don't even know what JV means. I think I even said to you, what does JV stand for? And you said joint venture. I'm like, oh, how cool. But I remember Strickland, speaking of, delegating the stuff out and then understanding the value of what that other person brings to the table. We just started doing launches in March of this past year. So
just like 6 months ago, 8 months ago.
Like as of the recording of this, it was in 9 months ago.
It was like yesterday.
Yeah. And
COVID. They were like, look, it's a pandemic. Let's do a launch.
And it ended up working out well for us. So we brought in Kimberly Whitecamp and Matthew to do our tech and our copywriting. And I remember, let's just talk specifically about Kimberly, who has a program called the Audience Converter. What was so funny was, like, Strick and I wrote up all the emails and we're like, here's the emails that are going to go out. We just wanted her to review it. And then she literally went down the list and says, well, where's this and where's this and where? There was probably 9 more emails that accounted for 50% plus of the sales that we made in launch number 1 for us. And I'm like, for the money that we spent on her, or for the trade that we had given her, I can't remember if we paid her or if it was in trade, but for whatever it was so worth it, because we wouldn't have made, probably another 10 grand in sales had it not been for her just adding on her level of expertise. And that's kind of what happens all the time.
Damn, now I gotta go hire Kimberly.
You totally do.
I mean, she's on my list for 2020.
We were totally sure we didn't need a copywriter, right? I mean, we needed, Matthew McGregor helped us set it all up, and it was amazing because we had no idea what we were doing, and it was so freaking complicated. Yeah. And then relatively last minute, 2 or 3 weeks before the launch, we're like, hey, let's just pay Kimberly a couple bucks just to look it over and tweak them and polish them. And it was like, she's such a pro. It wasn't just, hey, you need to change this wording and you need to add that wording. It was, you haven't done X, Y, and Z, which if you just hire a copywriter and their only job is to write copy, she wouldn't have known to look for that, but she knows the business. She knows how to launch.
Yeah.
Kimberly Whitecamp, I'm telling you, she was worth every penny of everything. I mean, we have her on retainer now. Doug,
let's get her on the next episode, Dan. We're going to be like, all right, here's how we're going to find our guests. When a guest shouts out another pro, we're going to call the pro and be like, hey, you just got a shout out. So now you're our next guest.
Geez. I love it. I mean, Doug was like, this was 2 or 3 months ago. Doug was like, hey, maybe we should just keep Kimberly on retainer. I'm like, well, why? We don't need new copy. We've done our launch. And Doug was like, oh, well, what about this? And I was like, I guess we could use help with that. And what about that? I'm like, well, you don't want to write that. Well, what about this? I'm like, Yeah, we need Kim on all the time with us.
All the
right?
time, all the time. We just do, because we don't even want to
Nice.
have to think about it anymore, you know, and because she has a podcast and because we are podcast producers, guess what? There's a really good marriage in that right there. I shouldn't say me and marriage in the same sentence.
No.
So I want to go to listen. I want to go to Jenny, and then I have a comment.
I want to
on
go
this,
to Jenny
get help
too.
thing.
We all,
I know you do, Strick.
Everyone wants to come
we
to
all
me.
want
But
to, we want to
the
come on
only,
Jenny.
wait. But I am the only one that could get there in the next 10
Killing me.
minutes.
Oh my God. You're so right, Virginia.
Jenny,
It's-
so you
Yes.
recently
9 minutes longer than
you
I need. What's
recently-
the other 9 minutes? What are you going to do for the other 9 minutes?
No,
Foreplay, Doug.
You
It's
can't-
called foreplay.
Doug, all you can do is stare at her picture. I can actually go
That's all Doug needs,
Understood.
though.
to her house.
Understood.
That is all Doug needs.
All right.
I'd love
And
video,
so-
Jenny. Virginia, when you go over, if you want to set a camera up, I can give you a Zoom link.
We would be more than happy to podcast with you from Jenny's house. No problem.
I love
Strick.
that plan.
So
Whole new definition for
you can be a
pod
table.
prod for you.
You can be a table. All right, move on. Poof, your furniture. Jenny, you recently hired a VA to like handle some stuff for you, and then you handled it, you know, invested in an organizer. But I remember like you were really specific about like how you did that and made that happen. Can you talk about it really quick? Because I think it's really, you're in that place too. You were in that place, like, you know, 6 months or a year ago when you were like, I know I shouldn't be touching this shit, but I don't know how to pay for it. So
Right, exactly. Well, what I really started looking at is where am I dropping the ball? Where am I dropping the ball? And when it came to my podcast, I was dropping the ball on promoting my own fucking podcast, you know? And so I got introduced to someone who was getting started as a podcast promotional, you know, VA basically. And I went, well, you're getting started. I kind of know what to do. But I need someone. So I brought her on, and it's been amazing because what it's done is, and what was great was the email that went out to all of my guests for like the previous 4 to 6 weeks that I hadn't promoted any of their stuff. I was like, get ready. You're about to get emailed from my VA, because the person who was previously doing our promotion, I fired her. And by the way, that was me.
That's good.
She sucked. Jennie Bellinger sucks at promoting her own stuff, just so
Yeah.
you know. So that it came with where am I dropping the ball? I mean, that was really the key. And how was dropping the ball affecting my business? And I knew that not by taking care of those episodes with those guests, people then would potentially assume that I was dropping the ball in other areas of my life, and especially other areas of my business with other clients. And then what's the likelihood that they're going to refer me? What's the likelihood that they would hire me if I didn't do what I said I was going to do when I said I was going to do it? So that's where that really started. And then for me, with bringing on the professional organizer, that was just okay, so now I've got one area of my business organized. Now it's time to start with parts of my personal life.
Yeah.
You
But I
know?
remember you were like, I have this much. Come to my house and tell me what you think I need. Like, what's the top priority? And I remember the first VA I hired, I was really resistant to hiring. It was Michael Burke.
Mhm.
And, you know, I met with him and he said, what's the one thing you're not doing that's costing you? Right? Like, what's the one thing you're doing that's not costing you? And back in the day, I was doing the Callan Rush style self-hosted events where you would, you know, give out tickets and get 50 people in the room, stand up, go to the back of the room, whatever. And I basically was like, look, if you didn't buy from me, screw you, you're dead to me. And he was like, well, you're not following up with 85% of the people that were in the room. Don't you think that there are people that if maybe they had a conversation or if something that you might get an extra sale? And, you know, if you got one extra sale, you'd more than pay for me. So I'll tell you what, let's do it for 90 days. And if it doesn't pay for itself, well, then you'll know that I'm not the right guy for you. And then Michael Burke and I worked together for 3 solid years. He was my VA until I actually turned him into a public speaker. And now he's a coach and I don't have a VA. But anyway, you know, but the point is also, and Doug, you made this point, cash is not the only currency. Cash is not the only currency. So, you know, sometimes it's promotion, so as I'm negotiating Jennie and Michelle being part of the Six Figure Success Alliance, I'm like, the best deal for you is that, like, okay, you refer people in, and instead of doing a JV commission, we'll just handle it like this. And if you sell anything here, then we'll just handle it like that. And so there's a sense of, okay, I'm going to be everything I do is more favorable terms to the two of them because of the contributions that they make this way, so that at least there's an acknowledgement and there's a way, right? And both of them know that they can call in a favor, they can call in a chit, whatever. And you got to be able to understand that you've got knowledge and excess resources that you also can share. And sometimes it's having the conversation, where are you now? And how does it compare, like where you're now and where you want to be? And what are some of the things that you don't have that you need? And you're like, oh, damn, I have all these turquoise pens. You can have one of my turquoise pens in exchange for that knowledge that you have and make shit happen. So it's a really bad excuse to say you don't have money to do it and you can't afford it.
There's so much more currency. That's a really interesting thing, because there are many different things that you can have to offer. If you have a podcast, you have an audience that you can offer. You have a social media following that that is engaged with you that you can offer. There's an email list that you have that you can share with people. There's Facebook Lives, and that's part of the beauty of. We have this mastermind. JJ and I have this mastermind, and many of the people that are in our mastermind, yes, they're getting good coaching because we're good coaches when it comes to podcast coaching. However, I think that is getting one step closer to someone that has built a community of a huge proportion like JJ has. Many of them have joined just so they can get closer to JJ, because they're like, we want to be like JJ. We want to build a community too. And I'm like, well, hey, I'm over here also, I'm pretty good too. There are certain strengths that I bring to the relationship too, but oftentimes, your currency could be your skill set. It could be the thing that really comes easily to you that doesn't come easily to other people as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. All right, guys, we should probably wrap this thing up or we're going to be talking till midnight, because that's what we do. Like every time we get on with you guys, right, on Facebook Live, we're like, oh, look at that. We've been on for 19 hours straight. No wonder I'm so tired. Like it's the never ending Facebook show. But Doug and Strick, we are just so grateful to you as the Bad Girls on Business for everything that you have taught us and shown us, and the grace and the kindness and the generosity that you model each and every day in every way and everything that you do. I don't know. For me, it's really meaningful that you guys are here, because I wouldn't be doing this project if it hadn't been for the two of you holding my hand and getting me
blessing,
through.
curse,
So
blessing,
I just
curse,
wanna
blessing,
appreciate you.
curse. Don't know which one you are to me right now.
And you gave me a t-shirt and you invited me to Paso Robles. So I'm eternally grateful. And if I could get another one of those invitations, that would be really hot. So Michelle, I'll toss it over to you.
Michelle just wants a t-shirt, apparently.
Oh yeah, I can get a t-shirt.
You gotta win a contest for that, Michelle. You know that already, right?
Pretty sure I have one.
Doug, you got any t-shirts left? I think
I might have a Nice Guys on Business t-shirt, but my podcastologist t-shirts, I'm wearing the last one right now.
They are a hot commodity.
We got to order more of those though, Strick. That was a really, really good. We have merch that we need to. I know we got to order more.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a 2021 expense. I think our deductible has been paid in 2020 so far. So
I want to put a little print on the back of them too, like up here. I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We'll come up with something fun.
Every girl likes to snuggle into the good guys.
Oh, a slanket.
So we got to get like some
snuggies. We want we want nice guys. We want nice guys.
That's right. We're going to give away the t-shirts, but only on the condition that you have to send us a picture of you in just the t-shirt.
Just the t-shirt, nothing else. That's right. Mm-hmm. That'll be good.
Little rainwater.
Yeah, I did that once.
You did it,
t-shirt,
and we appreciated it.
The Nice Guys have a wet t-shirt contest. We were thinking about doing that once, but I don't think it ever.
And sorry, the shirts are only available in white.
I'm
sorry.
I'm like the only hardcore married woman here, so I just didn't take pictures. But Doug, I wore that shirt.
I know you. Yes, you did. Thank you.
Michelle, any last words, babe, before we toss it off to Jennie to kind of...
No, just got to say I love these guys. And if you're listening right now and you haven't met them before, you got to stick around and get to know them better.
Yeah.
Nice guys come first.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. And if you guys are podcast listeners, which obviously you are because you're listening to this one, I'm just saying, if you're not already listening to the Nice Guys on Business, you should be. I've been listening since 2017. And one of the great ways I love to explain it to people when they're like, well, okay, there's lots of business podcasts out there. And I'm like, yeah, but how many of them are like Howard Stern on business? And they're like, ooh, really? And I'm like, yep. Howard Stern on business. If you like Howard Stern, if you like business, Nice Guys on Business. It's the greatest way to describe who you guys are, because you really do embody all the good things of that show.
Thanks.
For sure. And I've got to say personally, I am grateful to you guys just because having you guys in my life has exponentially made it better, adventurous, just from day one in 2017 of going out to dinner with Doug and getting to see what that whole world was starting to look like for me. So I love you guys more than I can ever say in words.
Well, we thank you.
Awesome.
We so appreciate you ladies taking our advice. You're the only 3 ladies that actually have ever taken our advice and done anything that we've done.
Which explains why we're so damn successful.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Well, we'll even help you get to the next level beyond where you are right now. Just hang on to Strickland's coattails. My coattails are already taken, but Strickland's are wide open. I understand. He's got a trench coat that is wide open waiting for you.
Jenny and Marcel saw that in September when I went to Vegas and celebrated her birthday with her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Open trench coat. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Open trench coat. Yep.
Open
Absolutely.
Well, thanks, ladies. Thanks for having us here.
It's our pleasure. So everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Bad Girls on Business with the Nice Guys on Business. And we look forward to helping you grow your business in the next 12 months and beyond. So until we meet again, guys, be remarkable.
Thank you for listening to the Bad Girls on Business podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for any links mentioned in this episode and for additional contact information about the guest or our hostesses. If this show got you going, we'd love to hear about it when you subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Can't get enough of the direct sales dom, the referral diva, or your mistress in business? The Bad Girls have hidden their gift for you at badgirlsonbusiness.com. When you find the Easter egg, use the password BGOB to unlock your treasure chest of goodies.